Sharing with students. How do you deliver the content of the digital workbook to your students? If you're meeting them in a computer lab, you have several options. The most labor-intensive of these options is to have them type in the URL themselves. We don't recommend this. You can have an icon that they click on the desktop that takes them to your site. Something like this, a little shortcut. That's one easy way to do it. And it gets you right there. You also could have your materials stored inside your learning management system like D2L. Another option is to create a QR code that students scan on their phones that links to your class website. So if you go here and put in QR code in DuckDuckGo and then the address of the digital workbook, voila, a QR code will be generated for you. You can copy the image and put it where you want, or if you're in the classroom with the students, they can just come right up there and use their phones and it will magically transport them to the website. Another option for sharing the content with your students is to create a shortened URL like bit.ly or tinyurl. Just want to show you quickly what that looks like. If you go to tinyurl.com and you go back to your website, get the link. Where's it up there? That's okay? Yeah, okay. I'm going to copy the link. Copy the URL, sorry. And I'm going to paste it in here. It says enter a long URL to make tiny. And now I've got it. Another option is to give it a custom alias, to give it a name that students can remember, because this is still kind of difficult, especially for beginning students. It hasn't made it that much easier. So you could give it something that's still rather unique, but easy enough to remember, so students could get there again. Do that one.
Yeah, when people use the tiny URL, even though they type something different, they go to the address of your site or of the digital workbook.
Exactly. Yeah. So the idea is to make it easier, not harder. QR code, shortened URL. You also can email the students a link to your page. And let me show you what that looks like. Boom. Okay. So here's an email that I sent to my students today. I said, here's the class website if you want to keep practicing at home. And all they see is ESOL 23. Easy. And they understand that and they recognize it. And when they click, they get back to the website. This might seem pretty straightforward, but for a lot of students, they are confused. What can they do at home and what can they do in the computer lab? And they say, I want to keep practicing these websites and these exercises at home. And this shows them that they can. And remember, they can do this on their phone. They can do this on their computer at home. And it's also possible to test what your website, whatever way you're housing your content, will look.
Yeah, for example, Davida is using Google Sites to have all of the links to the workbook. And she can click Preview. And then in the bottom right, see what it looks like on a phone or tablet sideways, on a phone vertically, and you can scroll through. And that's what someone using a phone will see.
Yeah. So once you've set up your method of sharing your materials with your students, students can bookmark this or even write it down somewhere and return to it again and again to access the materials. The hard part is getting students to navigate to your website in the first place. The digital workbook gives you the raw material, but the way that you house the content is important. And as you can see, there are many different ways that you can do it. So choose the method that works best for you. Sharing with students.